People, deluded, I'm back again. Forgive me for the noise, forgive me for the wind, forgive me for the hustle and bustle of the busy London streets that I cannot control. But I've got some opinions and I'd like to share them with you. Now, it's been raining. Hopefully the rain won't catch me out. I think I've timed this video to perfection within the context. The seat's ridiculously wet. I ain't finna get wet bum and all of them sort of things there. But moving forward, some things to say now. Let me crack on with the irrelevant but relevant things. Shout out to young Bukayo Saka. Every game he's playing well. You know, second half was in his best against Everton, but he's been a breath of fresh air and he's shined in what's been a turbulent season at Arsenal, really and truly, and he's doing his thing. And every week there's a new statistic or new something, but he's in double figures in terms of assists, I believe, double figures in terms of goals and assists, because he hasn't scored too much, but he's contributed in terms of assists a hell of a lot, and in some important assists as well, so let's never belittle his contribution. But he's the youngest player to assist in consecutive Premier League appearances since Francis Jeffers in 1999. Former Everton and Arsenal man, ironically, given the game we had. Now, Saka is not going to be one of those failed wonder kids, but and listen, I don't know Saka's family and stuff, but he strikes me as someone very humble, very down to earth, someone that's family's always brought him up like that. And if he was to get some sort of way that's different, they would quickly remind him if that was the case. But yeah, Francis Jeffers, if you remember, he was a promising young player. You say that to many players of a younger generation, they'll hesitate as to who the player is, and that's not me being disrespectful, that's just me saying it serves as a lesson. Where you start your career almost means nothing, it's about where you end it, because plenty of wonder kids burst on the scene and go off to 35 and they're still held in high regards. Look at Wayne Rooney, he's had a wonderful career as a 16-year-old wonder kid coming through. Some, and Milner as well, through different circumstances, not so much a wonder kid. But you see a lot of players come through and they don't do anything. And you see a lot of players, that's why people need to remember footballers develop at all different rates. You look at someone like Aubameyang, what was he doing until the last 5 years ago? I'm not saying he was rubbish, because he's playing for AC Milan and all other clubs, but he didn't have the standing he has now. So it's down to you to work hard. It's down to, it's not where you start your career, it's where you finish. It's down to you to work hard. Obviously there's some external circumstances everybody needs in life to get somewhere. That needs to happen. The wedding was that mad thing, but you get what I'm saying. So big up to Bukayo Saka. But moving away from him, people, and speaking about Arteta briefly, we're going to cross a couple of things. I believe I've got Xhaka and Nketiah to speak about as well. In relation to Arteta, he has said in relation to Ozil, when we were dominant and the whole process is done properly, and you find the player in the right position, he's the type of winner you want. When the game becomes like this, it's not his game, so he needs his teammates and the right structure and organisation to flourish. And you saw that, and I think that goes both ways, people, because you saw Ozil, when Nketiah was playing up front, Ozil more or less pressed as a second striker. You had Aubameyang to do the work on the left wing. You obviously on the right, Pepe's improved defensively, so you're getting the defensive contribution from the front men. Obviously, Ceballos is playing in that wider role, in that more withdrawn role in the deeper midfield. That allows Ozil to stay higher up the field, and he's working good with Xhaka and whatnot. So you see how you can see how there's balance and whatnot. And what I like about Arteta is he recognises that Ozil's a terrific footballer. He's got all natural ability and all of these things. Even Ozil is past it by his own standards. Ozil's not in his peak, but past it, Ozil is pretty good. But within the context of how to use him, how to utilise him, when to take him off, when to play him and things, really like Arteta's things to that, man. Obviously Arteta's not alone, he's got coaching staff, but above all things, and again, I don't really have a large pool to judge this off, but one thing I really like is Arteta's attention to detail. It appears he leaves nothing to chance. What I like as well is it doesn't, obviously nobody's going to be happy to be left out. Someone is always going to miss out, whether you're a first teamer, regular, star player, whatever. Someone's always going to miss out. Only 11 players can play. But I like how he's made players understand that. He's made players understand that if you get a chance and you take it, you'll play. Look at Mustafi. You imagine Eddie plays between starting against West Ham on the Saturday or playing in the Olympiacos fixture, 2 games this week. He would play his way into the squad. David Luiz as well. Obviously Martinelli, bit more under previous management per se. When I say that, he played under Lumberg, and then obviously he's been a breath of fresh air under Arteta. Spaces are earned. Mustafi was told by Emery, and listen, let's not belittle Emery, because we was all saying Mustafi needed to go and we needed to move him on. Emery was coming out and saying legitly in his press conferences, as a last resort, you're allowed to go, sort of thing. Mustafi, again, Arteta hasn't been there that long, but Mustafi's gone from that to being one of the first names on the team sheet and looking a dramatically better footballer. Now, let's not let form, you know, dictate stuff. He needs to prove he can do it a long period of time, and I think his form actually benefits Arsenal. No disrespect to Mustafi, but we're going to have a decision to make. Do we give him a new deal? Is it a new Mustafi under Arteta and we're writing a new deal? If that's what Arteta wants, then cool. Or do we think, yo, okay, cool, this is probably the best form he's shown us of recent, sort of. His price tag is probably at the highest it's been in the last 18 months. Can you move him on? He's got a year left. Someone might see, oh, Mustafi's had a bit of a turnaround in his career. He's available for a cut price. Arsenal got him for a year or so. He's a free deal. Let him go, sort of thing. I don't know. Rather scary though in relation to Kolasinac's injury. Now, I thought it was a head collision, people. I tried to watch it. Well, I watched the game again twice last night. Stupid, because I was staying up. And I still can't make out what happened, because it's like he goes up for the header. Initially, I thought what messed him up is like his head hits the ground, hits the carpet, the Emirates pitch, very hard, people. So I thought it was a precautionary concussion. You know, players always want to play on, but I'm actually seeing today, apparently primary school kids can't head the ball anymore statistically. Well, I say statistically, it's factual. They put in new laws. I thought it was a head thing, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's a shoulder one. Arteta himself said, I don't know, it looks bad, he was in a lot of pain, so we'll assess him on Monday and see how it goes. Now, it's Monday now, you'd like to think there's some diagnosis, but for me, I believe in preparing for the worst, hoping for the best, and, you know, we've been dealt a very short hand with injuries. You know, sadly, we've lost Chambers when he was coming into the best part of his Arsenal career. Obviously, we've had players holding and Bellerin fighting back. We've got Tierney's had a couple, and he's had the longest one now. Reece Nelson's had a couple. Ceballos is back in the team now, but he missed a couple of weeks. Couple of players, bits, and Lacazette's been carrying knocks as well. Couple players, and obviously when it's a 1 week here, 2 weeks there, it doesn't matter. But when you add it all up, it does leave us at a disadvantage, people. And now at left back, we're already down to our bare bones. But just when it feels like we're getting some players back, we always get knocked in the teeth. And Saka will have a couple of days rest until the Olympiacos game, I'm sure. He did look a bit tired in the second half against Everton, but we're relying on him, people. We're relying on Saka. He's probably got to play both them games this week against West Ham and Olympiacos, so we got to wrap him up in cotton wool. Obviously, I think with Bellerin's form of the last two games, Maitland-Niles should get a chance to show what he can do at right back again. But considering the injuries, you can't. I mean, we need to remember Maitland-Niles at a time played left back for the team, so I won't actually rule out seeing Socrates at right back in the Europa League and potentially Maitland-Niles moved over. I think Arteta won't do something as extreme as that, but I didn't think he would play Socrates at right back, but he did. So it is what it is. Gary Neville's picked up Aubameyang, and I heard Aubameyang's on the same amount of goals since they both made their respective debuts in Mohamed Salah and Aubameyang. There's no doubting he is a quality player. There's not too many strikers, if any, better than him. He's definitely top 5 in the world. He's definitely got a case to be the best striker in the league. Listen, I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm always going to be biased. I'm going to say Aubameyang is the best striker in the league. If I move away with that, I'd say Sergio Aguero. Obviously, you've got Harry Kane. Them Liverpool men are not strikers out and out like that, but in regards to Salah in particular, in terms of goal scoring, and I'd say Mane, you could probably, well, more Salah because he plays more through the middle if need be. You could throw them all into it. And you mean, listen, I could sit here and speak about Aubameyang until I'm blue in the face, and last time you checked my skin colour, will be here for a while. Out wide, up front, movement, goals, terrific footballer, man. And definitely in the last few years, Alexis Sanchez and in his prime, and Aubameyang, they're the two real signings that you can kind of, I'd say it's assurances. Like you knew with Alexis he was good for a certain amount of goals and a certain level of performance. And I'm not saying there's other players not like that in the team, but I'm saying there's a difference. I think we need one more of these players, but there's a different buzz when there's a quality player. And Aubameyang is that. And to be fair, similar to Saka, contracted until 2021, you might be licking your lips at the prospect of going for Aubameyang if you're a club. You know, Barca could use him as a short-term option. Obviously, he's winding down in his career, but he's rarely ever injured. He clearly takes care of his health. I'm sure he probably scores quite high for fitness and physio stuff and all this looking after yourself sort of stuff, man. Again, I'm gonna exaggerate a bit, but you look at Aubameyang, you look at Ronaldo, who's really getting on a bit and still performing like they're in their 20s. Again, Aubameyang's not playing in Italy now, but he spent a period of his time in Italy, and you see Ashley Young and people like that, where their careers are basically done, going to Italy. 35 is the new 19 in Italy with what they do. So maybe he learned a bit of that at AC Milan, how to look after himself, you know. Obviously, he's undoubtedly changed the amounts of his game. And Gary Neville said, more or less, people, he's one of the best players we've got in the Premier League, but for some reason, he doesn't quite get the credit and plaudits that others get. It's a lot of he said for a lot of Arsenal players, really. I think now is the time for us to start recognising the quality and brilliance of this player. I think it's getting to the point now where you could argue he's the top goal scorer in the Premier League over the last couple of seasons, and he is. In terms of scoring goals, like absolute goals, what strikers are meant to do. Obviously, when you talk about world-class players and all of these things, you want players to have goals and have more about them. But from the same token, you've got to judge strikers on what they're about. Judge players in general for what they're about, not always the lens you want to look at them. And Aubameyang's got general play, he can obviously mix it up, and he's got good technical abilities, like you see, but he's more or less about goals. He's not there for the pretty stuff, he's not here for it at all, people. Like you see, he's a goal scorer, and he is a world-class goal scorer without a doubt. In today's day and age, in regards to being a world-class overall player, for me, that I used to scream it and use that term wholeheartedly. That term for me should only be reserved for as unfair it is Lionel Messi. I'd say Neymar, to be fair, as well. Lionel Messi, potentially Neymar and a couple of others, but Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, Lima, Cristiano Ronaldo. But that doesn't mean anything about Lacazette. Lacazette is a quality footballer, people. And if, again, for the people in my comments, if you want me to say he's world class, today's day and age he is world class. I mean, I'm scared, people, because I think if the offer comes, Aubameyang's got a goal, man. We can't begrudge him, because even if he is feeling what Arteta's doing with the rebuild and the tactics, that's all fun and games. But it's going to take us 2, maybe 3, anything from, let's say, 1 to 3 years to become a Champions League qualifying club again, or anything like that. And that's great for Saka, that's great for Martinelli, that's great for even Xhaka, who's not the oldest. Great for all the young G's. Aubameyang's not got that old to play, not got that long. And obviously his transformation at Borussia Dortmund and coming to the Premier League and being a revelation, you know, it's now or never. If he promised his grandma or grandfather, forgive me, that sadly passed away. He'd play for Real Madrid one day. I believe his mother is Spanish. Barcelona is linked with him, so there's enough token. He's been linked with Inter Milan again. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that's going to happen. But keeping up with another striker, and Eddie Nketiah now 2 starts in the Premier League and he's got 1 goal. And for me, he played much better in the game against Everton. He played alright against Newcastle, but I just felt there was a bit more of a healthy swagger about him. He had a bit more of a say in the game. He managed the game a bit better. Only criticism I'd say is there was 5 minutes added on and he tried to run into the corner flag. But that's all like inexperienced. I feel he put in a real good shift. Obviously, it's lovely for his movement and the goal, and it's lovely for Hale graduates, Bukayo, Saka, and Eddie Nketiah. And I know a lot of the diaspora will say, you know, you saw the Ghana to Nigeria link up is crazy. I mean, we've got some serious African strength in this team. You've got Gabon leading the line. You've got young Nigerian ready to step. You've got a young Nigerian stepping up and doing his thing at left wing and left back. You've got a young Ghanaian linking up and doing his thing. Africa's taken over the Emirates, and it's lovely to see, man. It's lovely to see in general. It don't matter. We've got that. We've also big up the Albanians though, with Mustafi and Xhaka. That Albanian mentality, they don't cower. That's one thing I've always admired about Albanians. They're very hard working. I know a couple. They're very honest. They're very hard working, and they never cower and hide in situations. And I've been getting that from Mustafi's performance, and definitely I've always got that with Xhaka, regardless of what I feel about him. But like he's shown that Albanian courage to fight back and have his Arsenal career, because it looked like he was going out for Berlin. Now he's one of the first names on the team sheet. You're never really seeing him out of position and things, so you have to big up Xhaka for that, people. But Eddie Nketiah, he's spoken and he said, he's speaking about Arteta. He said he was a bit 50-50 on letting me go anyway, and I was a bit 50-50 as well. Obviously, I just trained well and played my usual game, and I tried to give my all in training and treat it as a game. He likes this mentality, and obviously the quality I have, I tried to showcase that. It's just about working hard. I'm grateful he's given me the opportunity, and I just want to keep on learning. And that's it. I mean, loan, there's never any... Listen, because he could have went out on loan, started scoring goals, and equally has developed. He could have stayed here and not been used under Arteta. So I can understand why it's 50-50. And I've been saying that as well, because we know a bit of it, because Lacazette and Aubameyang, one of them needs to be rotated. There was injuries. Obviously, with the loss of form of Lacazette, there's been a lot of things that's been out of Eddie Nketiah's control that he's been able to take advantage of. But that's exactly what you've got to do as a young player. The jury's still out, but what, he's played 3 games under... 3 real games, I'd say, 3 starts in all comps, and he's got 2 goals. He's bagged in the FA Cup and he played well there in terms of general play as well. He didn't have the best of games against Newcastle for me, but he played against Everton, and he's young, he's 20. I'm not expecting you to be a Aubameyang, but if he proves that he can get... Obviously, I'm not counting this season, but he can be someone that can get double figures in the league or all competitions and contribute. We need that, man, because we need people coming through the academy. Obviously, with a lot of these young players, I want them all to become academy first team prospects, but I look at Maitland-Niles, I look at Nelson, I look at Saka, I look at Martinelli, I look at the man I've mentioned. These players should be getting you 20 million, Emil Smith-Rowe too, 20 million minimum people to reinvest within the team. And obviously, Arteta was keen to say him on loan because he needed to play games. He kept him close to training and said, yo, I'm going to keep you. And what you've got to do, regardless of the circumstances, is take your chance. And he's taken it so far again. He still needs to get consistency in his game, because we don't know what sort of base level of performance he'll give us for 10 games. But you've got to take your opportunities when they come. In relation to Leeds, he said, my experience at Leeds was good for me. I learned a lot as a player. I might not have played as much as I want, but I had good moments when I was there, when I came on and played. It's just about learning and developing. It started really well. Obviously, I came on, and if you check my minutes to goal ratio, it's obviously quite good. But obviously, it's just how things are. And sometimes the manager makes his decision, and you have to deal with it. It's all about learning from that environment. It's a very good environment to be in. It's a very demanding culture, and I learned a lot. You have to learn about yourself and take an opportunity that comes, and that's 100% true. You've got to take every opportunity that comes when it's presented to you. But it's as much as it's about, because I said it with Nelson and Eddie and these players now, they've got a August in 2019, for example, August in 2020, they need to look back and say I'm dramatically a better player, or significantly a better player than I was before that. Do you get? And Eddie is going to look in me and say, yo, the spell at Leeds and this little thing I'm getting at Arsenal, it's made me a better player than playing under 23s football or whatnot. And for as much as it's about playing games and minutes of currency, and it's about Eddie learning to play against senior defenders and score goals and answer the question marks, it's a mental game. It's a mental game to take your chances when it's given to you with Lacazette's loss of form and these things. Obviously, to keep your head going when you're not playing at Leeds as well. Because even last season, when it was Joe and Eddie, when they were the closest, or maybe the season before last, I can't remember, I think Eddie got his chance against Blackpool. He was on the bench a couple times. I think at this point he already bagged against Norwich, but he played against Blackpool, and I remember he looked a bit too eager to impress, not even eager to impress, but it looked like every pass, every action, he's thinking about the repercussions of, am I going to be in and out the team? And like I said, it's about mentally, and he looks, obviously, you're only going to get stronger mentally when you're given that chance, when you become a bit more experienced, when you've been around the first team that much longer. The Leeds spell has helped him a lot, people. Obviously, it's not been the spell in now he's gone there, he's banged 20 league goals. We're now asking, can he do it in the league? Can he do it here? No, let's sell Aubameyang and them and there because we've got Eddie. It's not been that. But so you couldn't say it's not really the loan spells of beneficial, it weren't really the most beneficial of loan spells, but beneath the hood, it's always a learning curve, people. It's always a learning experience. There's always something to learn. In relation to Arteta, he also said, he's a great coach and has a real determination to help and improve players, young and senior players as well. I just want to keep learning from him and make sure my mentality is right each and every day and keep on improving. And that's one thing I like to see, whether it's young players, squad players, people you sporadically, they all believe that if, obviously you're not going to see Martinez play ahead of Leno unless the form drops, for example, people. But it feels like, honestly, they know that if they get their chance and they play well, their manager will give them more. And it just seems like, okay, we work hard, it's a collective cause. Obviously, there's egos, everybody wants to play, but it seems like everybody's really putting the collective first. And for me, that's very apologies, people, that's very admirable. So yeah, man, I'm not even going to bore you lot, so I'm going to keep the Xhaka one for another vid and actually lock this one and get right to it, people. So on that note, thank you for listening for the 19-20 odd minutes we've been here. DG.